you don't have to worry about it anymore because it's not going to be on the test. But I think it's interesting to know that the one that gives you the greatest voltage will be the redox reaction.
Alright, so how do you find one to the
Because that will give you the greatest voltage. It's kind of like, your research on cathode protection. Are you doing that? Or okay, I think we were just thinking about the last one. And they sit there, so that's why I'm confused. So when there are multiple redox reactions that could potentially happen, you want to have the ones where there is the greatest potential energy difference, which will then translate to the greatest voltage. And this is often used for those who are doing research on, prevention on corrosion. This is often what people do. They actually, to prevent the corrosion of iron, right? If you just had like these two reactions, then iron will turn into iron 2+. And if you want to avoid that, because that will lead to corrosion, you can put anything that has a lower tendency, or I should say greater tendency to oxidize, something like aluminum, or zinc, or chromium in there, and you mix it in, or you coat the iron bar with that, and that will prevent the oxidation of iron, and it will oxidize whatever that first coating is first, and then that will therefore delay the corrosion of the metal such as iron. And that's one application of electrochemistry. It's called cathodic or anodic protection. So that you are putting in like a third metal to make that electron or that electrolysis reaction happen first, or that electrochemical reaction happen first, and that protects your sheet metal, which is usually iron. Okay, so that's one way. It's kind of similar to putting a layer of paint on top of whatever bar, right, outside. The paint will kind of work as a water barrier and therefore delay the corrosion. But instead of using paint, they can actually mix in different metals, and that will also have the same effect and will last longer than something like paint, which could potentially chip. Those are the two questions that I think most people struggled with. A few of you in this class, for question number 1 in the written, did not write down the charge of the oxidizing agents. It is very important that you do. There were a whole bunch of people who forgot to write down the charge in the other class. And then otherwise, it was well done. You will get questions looking very similar to number 3 on your test. If I do ask you to write down the products that are formed, don't just write the overall reaction, but please specify which products are formed. And you don't have to write down the ions. Like for 3B, you could have just written down oxygen gas and hydrogen gas as the two products. You didn't have to write like the H plus and the OH minus, because those turn into water anyway, which then get reused. Okay, so that was the assignment.